A lot of times in pro wrestling, whether we realize it or not, we are constantly emulating or following in the steps of the people that we love, that we admire, that we idolize, or different things of pop culture. And sometimes it's not even wrestling assimilated per se. There's this affliction that wrestling and horror kind of go together. The fandom is the same, but not too dissimilar to a hero of his. We've seen the evolutionary line. We've seen the skin be shed into new versions of the creature that I have on this show today. I personally consider him a creature. I've seen him do things that has convinced me that at least at one point in his life, he was not human, or at least more tolerable than others. From starting out as a tag team standout to leading various factions to becoming, in all honesty, maybe the most underrated deaf guy of his tenure during the time in which he competed into, to being one of the most underrated performers in the tri-state area. However, we have to address the looming cloud and the stigmas around him. Regardless of, you know, the name, you know the reputation, but you should speak more about his constant work ethic. Ladies and gentlemen, the following conversation is scheduled for one fall. Joining me this week, Kaide Lothbrok. How are you, sir?
I mean, after that, we could just call it a wrap. I don't think I can
Is
follow
that
that. Jesus
is that
Christ.
enough for you?
I mean, goddamn. No, I'm good,
That's
buddy.
one take.
Well, it's why you're a consummate professional. No, I'm good, man. I mean, as you know, I'm fighting. Well, I think I'm on the tail end of it, but dealing with I don't know if it's the flu or maybe I have some new virus that's going to shut the world down. Maybe I'm patient zero. I don't know, but been fighting like 103, 102 fever for the past couple of days. So.
And you still competed. Did you work just Ace, or did you work twice this weekend?
No, I'm slowing down in my old age, and I'm being very selective now. So, despite my doctor's recommendations and more importantly my wife's, I went and performed at Ace. And honestly, the only reason, and you could attest to this, if it wasn't Mike Morgan, if it wasn't Ace, I would have stayed home. And even Mike's wife was like, "Why are you here?" And I was like, I'm just as dumb as Mike, and I'm just as stubborn. And Mike would show up, Mike would roll it, Mike would wake up from the dead and yell at everybody. So to me, working for him, unless you're like literally on your deathbed, there's no excuse to miss it.
And once you say to his wife, "Just as dumb as Mike," she's like, "Oh, never mind."
No, yeah, she's like, "No, I know." And and I told her, I said, "I know Mike's gonna be like, why are you here?" And he did. And I said, because you would do the same. And he let like I said,
I mean, Will and I did the same thing to you when we were in the parking lot. So
yeah, I mean, look, I'm sure we're gonna get into Mike, but I have emulated a lot of my ethic and work ethic around what Mike has done or has taught me.
So let me ask you, because you said something, and let's just be honest, guys. It's wrestling. Guys say shit to say shit, and a lot of times it's for themselves. I've known you since I started. Do you still get the offers to do shows, and it's a legitimate choice of yours, or like, are you still getting asked to come out? Do you get asked to do the hardcore stuff more than regular appearances? Do you have your feet too high so that you don't get asked as much? Where are you at in terms of availability and desire? Because you're constantly putting on Facebook that you don't know when, but you know.
Yeah, so I mean, the deathmatch stuff, it's a lot slower than it was at first, obviously, because and that all really came about because of a lot of other situations out. I guess it was a part of wrestling, but more so stuff behind the scenes that I just didn't agree with. But no, I get asked. I don't get asked nearly as much as I used to, and I think that's by design because I have turned down a lot of things. Like coming up, it's WrestleMania weekend, and everyone and their mother wants to be a part of it. And
Sure.
for me, I've been doing this since I was 17, and I mean, dude, I'm going to be 37 in 20 days. I don't have any delusions about being signed or anything like that. I have a very good job outside of wrestling. I have a beautiful family. Like, it's harder for me, and it's crazy because I never thought I would get to this point. But it's hard for me to leave my house and be away from my wife and my family, my home, more now than ever before. And and a big part of why I don't take a lot of things anymore. I've been doing this. We're going on about 20 years. I mean, unless it really, really interests me, or it's somebody that I'm like, I want to work this person. being in a car for 3, 4, 5, it's not enticing to me. Like I've been very fortunate to be flown to other countries and around the country, and I've done tons of car rides. I've done probably more miles than most people, most truckers.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but it's just at this point, and like I said, it really has to interest me. And I'm not saying like it's gonna be something like, oh, I'm never gonna work, but like if my career, like and this was something I was gonna bring up, and I'll just bring it up now. Like, I'm gonna be 37. I don't see myself wrestling past 40. It's not anything because I don't
Well,
want
that's a
to.
fair answer because there's tons of guys on TV that say that,
Yeah, and look,
and
I'm not.
there's guys that did that.
Yeah, and I'm not saying like I mean that's what I'm setting for myself. Now, look, if something happens in this time frame before then of a contract or something, of course. But I just I'm very very beat up. Dropping all the weight that I dropped, definitely was good health wise, but it also kind of accelerated all the pain.
Yeah, yeah. Which
Being
I
that
also want
heavy,
to
it
address
created.
later on, but of course,
Yeah, it created a lot of, a safety, not a safety net, but like my body was more cushioned than other people.
correct.
But I mean, I still get asked, and like I said, you know, if it's someone I'm friends with, like if somebody I'm friends with ran a show and I was like, hey, but sure, but if it was somebody in the middle, it would take a lot. Sometimes I do price myself, where it's like, and I've had it where it's like, oh, I asked for a certain amount, and they're like, all right, cool, and I'm like, fuck, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've had that happen to me
um,
too, where I go stupid high and I'm like, oh, he said yes.
yeah, and it's cool that people do reach out. I've had guys like, hey man, I really want to work you, and like, it's not that I don't want to work anymore. I think I'm better than anyone. Just I'm it's I'm not dumb. I know the business is, I wouldn't say passed me by, but there's a new crop of guys that are coming up that they
Yeah,
deserve that opportunity. Like
yeah,
when perfect example. I know it didn't happen, but at the show, you asked me where I wanted to be on the card, which I was flattered that you guys asked me, and then you told me, you said, well, if you're not going to be in this position, it's going to be the fight or flight kids. And my exact words to you were, well, give them the platform, let them have that spot.
yeah,
Because again, it's I'm I'm like the elder statesman now.
yeah. You're also very aware because a lot of vets are like they're but only so aware of like when the next generation comes. It's like everything else in entertainment and business and wrestling. It happens every 10 years. Obviously, we're in that life cycle now where there's a new crop. You are certainly not in denial of when new talent comes along.
No, you can't be. Like I mean, look, I'd be lying if I said that there are people that like, oh, you got to see so and so. He's the next one to this, and I look, and there's sometimes I see guys and I'm like, I don't see it, and then I'm proven
Yeah,
wrong. And then there are times where I've picked guys or I've said like, I think this guy's got it, and then I turn around and 3 months later he's out of the business or she's out of the business, and
yeah. It's all subjective. It's all opinion.
of course. And that's why I don't like anytime I've been asked to work someone new, okay. Um yeah, I mean it's just it's independent wrestling. This nobody's getting rich off of this stuff. So why am I gonna like I just don't see the idea of like being, that guy. Like I'm fortunate, and I would like to think that I'm fortunate enough to where I've built enough and done enough to where I could be on a show and I could be the opening. I could be
You can
after
pick and choose.
I could be wherever I need to be on the card, and I will
Yeah,
still get one of, if not the best reactions on the show because I've been fortunate enough to learn from some of the very best that did it and came before me.
yeah,
And I can, my hope is to take what guys like, Mike, who's still around, and guys like Danny Moffat, and the list can go on, and pass that on to the next guys that, that they could hopefully learn. And it's a completely different generation. It's there's it just wrestling goes in cycles, man. And I had my I'm not done yet, but I think I have there's less pages in my book than there are,
yeah. There's more written than there are empty. I get you.
yeah, yeah.
So let's because you've been doing this since before the WrestleMania market existed on the indies and before it became oversaturated. You've worked WrestleMania weekend before though.
Yes, I've done. My first one was, oh my god, I don't even remember. I think it was Taker Roman in the main event that year. That
So
was like my first.
was that 32, 33, somewhere around there?
You would know better than me. Actually, well, my first one was technically the one they had in Giant Stadium. That
Oh,
like
20, that's 29. I know that.
yeah. So I only did one show that year. Um, then the one I guess that would be in the following year would be the one in Florida, and that one, no joke, I did about 13 shows, and it was killer.
When did you think? That's right. I remember speaking to you on the phone when you were down there too for that.
Yeah.
When did you like, or when can you remember? Oh, WrestleMania is a thing for the indies, and when do you feel like, oh, this is getting to be too much?
The,
Because it is. I don't care who you are. I love
no,
the
no, I
independence.
that
It is.
literally
And
when
working Mania weekend is more networking than it is eyes.
so that weekend, the one that I worked 13 shows, it just became like I always tell all the young guys, like I always tell everyone to do it, but it became more like a pissing contest. Like, how many shows did you work? Well, I did 6. Yeah, I did 8. Oh, I did 10. Well, I did
I see.
15. It's like, all right, cool, and that's great, but when you start doing that many shows, there's only so much of the crowd, and it's a lot of repeat people. Um, it's an intense thing. And as far as like marketing yourself, like I get it, but there's so much going on, and these promoters have so much. Like you're doing a show in a certain time frame. You need to get in and out in a certain time frame. It's again, I could be wrong. I don't know many guys that are getting, like PCO kind of had his resurgence there, but he was also putting a match with Walter Gunter.
Yeah.
But besides that, I mean, I mean, maybe, I don't know, maybe it's because I don't pay attention. I haven't really heard of many guys having a breakout WrestleMania, indie, WrestleCon collective match that has like blown them up on the indies, besides PCO.
The only time that I can remember it, whenever they were here last, the one that was like 8 hours, and it was the reason that 2 nights of WrestleMania was discussed even before the pandemic. Do you remember that one?
Yes.
That was the year that they were obviously in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, even into Pennsylvania. And remember, there was a day, it might have been Saturday, the day before Mania, where they did 24 hours of indie shows.
Yes, I remember that.
Well, one of the shows it might have either been first time ever or first time broadcast. Was LAX at the time, EYFBO, Drastic and Ortiz, Proud and Powerful, whatever you want to call them, when they worked Rock and Roll Express.
Okay.
And that was like a 1 or a 2 a.m. show, but because I've known them since I'm a kid, I love to watch this. I also love the Rock and Roll Express, no matter where their work rates at now compared to 40 years ago. So I can remember that one getting a lot of buzz, but not much since or after. And unfortunately, if it's after, it's kind of negative. But yeah, it's true. Like it's more networking. I have been around people where it's like, oh, you only work 2 shows. I just finished doing 10. I have been around that. Is it a platform? Yes. Is it the platform you want it to be? It can be, but it's more. The only upside is that there's now another streaming app to therefore allow you to be seen.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
like I said, it's definitely a good thing. I just think that it's just become a lot, and it's so much, and
It is.
Most of the people that are going to these WrestleCons and stuff, they're WWE fans. I mean, look, anything that's good for wrestling, and if people, the big thing for me is if guys are making money, then that's all that matters. Do I think it's a great avenue to get future bookings? I mean, look, anything's possible. But I just think that I think it's just such a busy weekend that no one's going there going, I'm going to find the next big star, because there's just so much going on that nobody has the time to sit and really look. And, but again, I say it's a great thing for every wrestler to experience at least once. And, if you're able to make a lot, I know guys that they look forward to that entire weekend, and that's how they made most of their money. I know guys that walked away with like 15, 20 grand after it, I mean, that year I did it, I walked away with a decent dollar. You know, and I'm on, you know, I'm not nearly on the scale of like the guys that, you know, the indie darlings or the name talent. So
Sure.
it's a lot. But you know, I mean, it's just the evolution of the business, and who knows, man? You know, maybe in 10 years this will be a thing of the past. You know,
Yeah,
who knows?
it's true. I mean, I'm a lot of people are surprised that I'm not going for some reason in terms of other announcers and stuff. A couple wrestlers too, but I also kind of I did it the year that they were here, and that was all I wanted. And I guess because I fulfilled it, I'm good.
Yeah,
But I could say I did it. That doesn't mean I wouldn't want to do it or don't want to do it again, but the eagerness wasn't there for some reason for me, even though it's 3 hours away from me, but whatever. Um, so I want to get into, before I get into where you are now. Trained formally under Mikey Whipwreck, correct?
yes, sir.
You come from an era of training, and you know how I love to talk about people's training. It's something that I can't do an episode and not talk about. You come from an era of training where legitimately you had to be deemed allowed to train in the ring before you actually trained. Like
Yeah,
a lot of stuff you did was on the ground or on the outside. That fundamental of even going back to the 60s and training wrestlers
yeah.
was still there. So like let's talk training, what you remember. Let's talk Mikey, because you got to know him very well. Was NYWC the first school you went to? Did you shop
Yeah.
around? What was that? What
No,
was that?
um, I researched schools and came across, it was called a website. They were called Critical Mass, and they were reopening under the NYWC banner.
Okay.
And Mikey was the head trainer. And of course, you know, being a wrestling fan and just, you know, not really watching ECW heavily, but I had DVDs, a couple of VHS, and I knew of him and the WCW stuff. So
That's where I really got him, as WCW.
yeah, it was the first school, and it was legitimately, it was the hardest thing physically and mentally I've ever done. Um, you know, Mikey came from the same training. Basically, the training was it wasn't the same as the House of Hardcore. It was, but not as strict. But Mikey had the same way of teaching that Taz did.
Right.
But yeah, I didn't really get in the ring. Uh, I would say 2.5 months, 3 months. Like there was times like we would set the ring up. We would do chain in the ring,
Okay.
but we didn't bump. We didn't touch the ropes. Like we weren't even allowed to lean on the ropes. Like we had to stand there with our hands at our sides or behind our back. You didn't get to touch the ropes, you know. And then we would go on Thursdays, and we would just do chain and basic takedowns on wrestling mats. So my first 3 months was just chaining, and then we learned bumping and then progressed. And it was it's a different way now, because I mean, now some of these schools I go to, these guys are in the ring already doing like hurricanranas.
Sure.
But as
Did
far
the
as
school have an open ring day and you were allowed to fool around then,
no,
or that was off limits?
no, we weren't allowed. I remember myself and another kid named Mike Spinelli, who I broke in with. We were just, you know, we would leave. Actually, our training would be 8 o'clock, because from 7:30 to 8 we would do cardio. So we did an hour and a half of training and then a half hour of cardio. Then after cardio, we were told we would have to leave, and then from 8 to whenever, 10, 10:30, 11, that was like open ring for the senior guys that were on shows. And I remember both me and Mike were asked, or basically we were, I guess I would say asked, but more so told, like, hey, you guys can stay. And that was like, oh my God. And then for like the first couple weeks, we just watched. And then it was like, hey, ref this match. And then it just became a slow progression of like earning your way in the ring. And then eventually we would do the 6 to 7:30, do our cardio, and then be in open ring from 8 to whenever. And most, you know, the beginning we were just literally tackling dummies, you know, just getting our asses kicked and bumping around.
You guys were the punching bags.
Yeah, and then eventually we were able to do, you know, some stuff.
Who are the vets for NYWC at that time? Who's training? Who's coming by? Anybody established?
So it was basically NYWC was a very close knit little group. Like guys really didn't work elsewhere. Like you had some outside talents, like guys like Damian Dragon and the Dead Presidents and Grim Reaper, but like it was mainly the homegrown guys, like the students that worked the shows and graduated. So guys like Dan Barry, Ken Scampy, Dickie Rods, Tony Burma, Mason Rage. Yeah, I mean, guys like that pretty much. Occasionally Papadon would come down. Um, he started frequently a lot more later on. And then like sometimes randomly like the Dead Presidents would show up or the SATs. But mostly it was like basically the senior guys of the class that was already Brian Myers and Cardona and Myers.
Not Cardona.
They were always there because they were the class before us, so they were already like on that next level. They were just breaking in on shows. Yeah.
Now and then, so when you break in, they're working shows. How long before they get to Deep South to then get signed?
They were there probably. I'd say I was on shows. I think they were about a year and a half after I debuted, which I debuted in 2005. So I would say it took them about 3 years, maybe. I don't know the exact date, but
that sounds right because I can remember I'm at a Mohegan Sun SmackDown and the dark match or the Velocity, whatever was at the time, was the Major Brothers. And they obviously, I didn't know who they were yet, but me being a teenager, I'm like, oh wow, an actual brother wrestling tag team, and they match and they actually look like a cohesive unit. I thought they were the greatest thing ever as a teenager. And then eventually, seeing their evolution has been awesome. Also, plus, when Myers came to the Indies on the first stint, that 2013-14 run, you got to work him a fair amount or work with him.
I think I worked him like 2 or 3 times. Yeah,
Myers. Did he remember you at all, or
what?
Did he remember you at all?
Yeah, no. Myers knows. I mean, they all know me. Myers is cool. Cardona and me had when we were training. Me and Cardona had a little. I wouldn't say like a animosity, but like, look. I mean, I'm sure.
Is that a thing? Was it a thing where this is just me spitballing? Was it a thing where you guys didn't know each other, but yet for some reason you didn't like each other? Because that happens too often in wrestling.
No, so and I'm sure we'll get into it because your little intro kind of touched on it. I'm not I'm me. I'm very blunt. I'm very straightforward. I don't really take shit. Yeah, no, I know the deal. And like a lot of the guys, like I forgot to mention, Plasma was also Trent Beretta or whatever his name is now. Trent. But like the Myers and Trent and Cardona, like they had their little group, and I never gelled with those guys. Like they were like they collected their toys and they were into like their goofiness and their I'm a sorry, but I'm saying like they had their own little. Not that I had issues, but like I didn't really gel with them. They weren't like I wouldn't have hung out with them.
Sure, there wasn't a lot of commonality.
Like we didn't have anything. Yeah, there's no commonality. Like I was my tattoos and the music I liked, and they were all about their pop music type stuff. Which is fine. But so like me and Cardona like butt heads, and I think like he's a ball buster, and wrestling has that hierarchy. I'm better than you because I've been here 2 days longer. So I think it's asinine. So I don't put up with that. I don't treat anyone like that, and I don't expect anyone to treat me like that. So, but I mean, now that's so long ago that last time I saw him, everything's everyone's in such a different place.
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, part of no matter where you go on the card in the success of wrestling, you got to evolve as a person. I hope.
Yeah. Well, if
a guy like. There's certain TV guys that, if their stigmas and stories can make it to the indies, you rub shoulders with them and they're not the same now, then that tells you that anybody can make it better,
Yeah, of course.
Let's just get to it. Specifically the first act of your career. You had a reputation as an individual. Some of that in my opinion, and people will say, "Oh, well, you're saying that because you're his friend." Because I saw it from multiple angles and multiple places. Some of that was the way you walked in the building, carried yourself. That translated to wrestling, like, "Oh, that guy's got a fucking problem." Whereas sometimes you would just kind of say your opinion on something, but because you walked in a little moody, might not have shake the hand or whatever. How much of the stigma that was around you for a time did you create? Was misinterpreted? Was bullshit? Because the first act of your career, you were a moody sumbitch. I never took it personally because I never had a personal interaction where you treated me a certain way. For example, I'll never forget the first day I met you. Do you remember it?
I don't, dude. I don't remember what I had for breakfast half the time.
So it's Wallington. It's 2014. We didn't have the building yet. We were just renting it. And that back door, I just finished a promo with Mike Jr. And it was kind of like out of a movie. That back door was middle of May or June or whatever it was, whenever I started. Door swings open and the lights are off because you know how hot that building used to get, especially the back room. And all you just see is silhouette. It's just sunlight and then your outline coming through. And this is when you had the cowbell, which I still don't know why the fuck you had it, and the cowbell, whatever, and you just swing the fucking door open. You come through literally like just this pissed off hidden character that hadn't been unlocked yet. You fucking fling the cowbell to across the wall. It's like not even a dozen people in the room. Walk past everybody, huff on me and Mike Jr.'s chest, and then go right to Morgan, who I'm sure you didn't greet the same way, but I'm sure some of that steam carried to you. 30 minutes later, I had to do a promo with you, and you were like, "Hey, man, we got to go film something." I'm like, "Okay, cool. Tell me what you want." We filmed it. You were like, "Hey, man, that was really good. Thanks for trusting me." And that was it. Like, to
Sounds
me,
all right.
you came in bad out of hell, legit. And I'm like, okay, somebody's having a bad day. That's it.
So that
So, like, what about it?
so I wouldn't say it was. I mean, I wasn't always like that when I was younger. Obviously, it was different. I've always had I've always done things my way. I've always been my own person. I've always spoke my mind, and I always tell you that's my biggest flaw. But I will, like, I'm not the type of person that will talk, go to you privately and be like, "Yo, Cheyenne, so and so is a blah blah blah." Like I
Yeah.
would, and if that person can, like, I will tell anyone anything. So that part of time of my life, um, I was in a dude for a very long time. Um, I was extremely miserable, extremely depressed. I was drinking a lot. There's things like a lot of people don't really know because and that's the other thing about me. Like my personal life is personal. I don't let many people in. Like you're one of the people that have been, that
Yeah.
have gotten in. Mike, obviously, because it's no one's business. I don't want to know. I don't care about anyone else's personal life. I don't,
Yeah.
whatever. But I went through a very bad breakup with a girl that I thought I was going to marry, and she said a lot of shit, and I'm not going to get into it because I didn't say anything then. I'm not going to say anything now. I'll just say that who's still around and who's not. That's the end of it. But a lot of stuff was said about me, and a lot of stuff was um, thought about me with my actions of said woman. And it probably, if Me Too was going on, I probably would have been on that list because of lies that were said. But so I was drinking and I was taking pills and I was doing shit that I shouldn't have been doing to mask my misery. So,
Yeah.
and my whole thing was, again, and this was also bad. I've had a very rough upbringing. I have trust issues with people. So you're putting someone that's already been, it's like taking a dog that was beaten and then putting that dog in a house that's been going to get beaten again. So I
Yeah.
don't trust people. So, and that time it was rough, but obviously, I grow, and if I trust you, I trust you. And if I like you, I like you. If I call you a friend, I'll give you the shirt of my black. And obviously, that happened with us. I think the perception with me was that I was difficult to deal with, or I was this or that. And I mean, look, if I think something's stupid, I'll be the first one to go up to you and be like, "This is fucking dumb." And I've had these arguments with Morgan where I've said, "Mike, I don't think this is a good idea. I think it's dumb." And he's like, "Trust me." Okay. and it works, and I'd be the first person to go and be like, I was wrong. But if I was right, I would go and be like, I told you this wasn't going to work. And that's for any promoter. And unfortunately, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but some people get offended by that. NYWC was one of those people. They did not like the fact that I had an opinion and I would voice my opinion, whereas a lot of guys and girls and people in wrestling still now would rather just tuck their tail and not say anything and then go home and bitch in the car. That's just not who I am, you know.
You also, when you started voicing your opinion, because now I got to do devil's advocate. When you started voicing your opinion, it wasn't like you were a greenhorn. Like you had equity in a lot of these places, NYWC in particular. Because when I met you, you were one of the top guys there. I can't deny that. It wasn't like I wasn't following it.
The only one that never took it, that took my suggestion was Morgan. And Mike was the one that allowed me the creative freedom to fall on my ass or to succeed. But he taught in a way, like Mike would be like, here's enough rope, go hang yourself. And then I'm going to tell you why that didn't work. And I'm going to tell you how it should have been done. And that's what I like. I don't like to be told, not that I don't like to be told, but you can't tell me how to be Stockade or Cade. Sure. Don't tell me how, let me go out there and let me do what I can do. And, as far as the other parts of my reputation, I had a reputation of being rough in the ring, and I'm not gonna lie, that I'm not, you're not gonna feel me. This ain't ballet. I've never hurt anybody intentionally. I've never accidentally.
No, I think for certain people, snug gets misinterpreted as he took liberties, because if you're snug with me, if you're laying it in with me, well, I don't give a shit if you're gonna work such and such the next month because you did that with me. I'm not even going to watch your match because I know for a fact I saw you hit guys all the same, and there were some guys that like it to be laid in.
Yeah, but
some guys are like,
I hate everyone the same.
And guys, it ain't ballet.
Yep.
And there's especially now, especially on the independents, there's a perception. Everyone feels like they know what's up, right? So to me, having a snug guy, having two guys go at it helps the show, because at the end of the day, the business is so exposed right now.
Yeah. And, like I tell everyone, I'm like, that anytime I talk to any of the new guys, or I said, my job is to go out there and make at least one person go, I know wrestling's fake and I know wrestling's this and that, but that guy Cade, dude, he really punched so-and-so in the face. Like, holy shit. Yeah. That's what I want. But yeah, man, like I said, I think a lot of, look, it's tell a phone, tell a friend, tell a wrestler, is there a part of me that kind of likes the idea that people like, oh wait, like, and I've had people go up to me like, bro, I saw I was working you and I was like so nervous, but you're so easy to work. It's like, dude, it's and having that stigma is kind of cool. It's a little bit like, oh wow, like the Road Warriors had that and Eddie Kingston had it and Danny Moff had, but it's it's unfortunately the thing. I've obviously mellowed out in my old age. I used to be a bigger hothead, and again, my life changed, dude, and you can contest to it. My life changed the moment my wife came into my life. My whole world just went upside down. Like, nothing else matters to me. Her and my stepson, and as long as they're good, I could care less about what anyone else has to say about me, dude. Yeah.
No, you got lucky. I really like your wife. Your stepson's very polite, and I knew that not even marriage, just love was going to change you.
Yeah.
So,
no, she calmed me
down. So do you miss tag teaming? Do you miss being a faction guy? Where are you at in wrestling with? Because we're talking just a couple. Team with Brawley. I mean, you had at least 3 or 4 tag team partners in your first half of your career, first 5.
I had a lot of that. Right? I used to tell people I was a faction man. I think I've been in more factions than most people in their entire careers.
Well, factions, you got, what is it?
Oh my God.
Hounds?
Yeah. Well, you had the Wrecking Crew, the Hounds, the Black Circle. You had me, Will, and Georgie.
I was gonna say the Fallen, right? Didn't you do the Fallen?
the Fallen, the Dying Breed. I think it's like about 5 or 6, I would say.
Is that something where you felt creatively you plateaued?
No, so the Fallen was not my idea. The Fallen obviously was something that Mike came up with, and I think it was a way to. I personally think it was a way to elevate Will to the next level, and also elevate myself to the next level. I think the plan was to get Will to the main event and then me to the Diamond, which pretty much it did. It just took Will a little longer to get there, because I went right away after the split with me and Brawley. I went to become the Diamond champion.
Yeah.
The Black Circle was my first real run in NYWC where I was given the ball to do something major, and that was with Mikey Whipwreck, my old tag partner Scyther, Foxy, and my other trainer, the late Crusher Dugan. And then the other groups, the New Age Wrecking Crew, it was Mike's idea again, I guess, to give me heaters and to hide me behind these. We were all bigger guys.
That's probably my favorite group that you did.
Yeah, I mean, for me, my favorite group is the Hounds, because that was the most creative I've gotten to be in NYWC, and it was my baby, my creation. And that came about because Mikey didn't want me looking weak ever, but he also knew I would have to. Well, he wanted me to be a scummy heel, but not look weak. So he was like, do what Raven did and have guys that can be your bump guys. So that was the idea behind that. And then the Dying Breed, I don't even know how that came about. It just happened. And then, we had one hell of a mouthpiece to be added to the group. And then HC Low, like it was fun. That group was just fun. That was just me with my friends having fun. Whereas the Hounds the Hounds also was a way to create 3 new stars, which I was ecstatic about within Boo, Bam, and Mouse. So that, obviously the Hounds is more of a sentimental thing because I was able to help create 3 new people and help train them from the ground up. So, but I mean, I think where I'm at now, I would do anything if something, if it really depends, but I'm more focused on just having good singles matches and just kind of having a catalog of matches where I can look and be like, all right, cool, that was a good match. There's a lot more. There's more single guys I would like to work in tag. Like, there's not many people on the tag scene that I would be like, oh, I really want to work them. I need a partner.
Who are some of the singles guys you want to touch base with?
I mean, right off the top of the list is Trevor Murdoch. To me,
you worked him once, twice already?
I never worked Trevor. No, I met Trevor at a show in Pennsylvania.
But you never worked him when you did that.
No, we never worked. Wow. So the story with Trevor was he worked a different guy. I worked a different match, and he came up to me after my match and said, "Why didn't the promoters put us together? We could have tore this place apart. You work just like I do." And that was a huge compliment. Yeah. I honestly think he's one of the most underrated wrestlers today. Like, he is so good. He's so believable. He's such a throwback to when wrestling was wrestling. Like, he doesn't look like $1 million. He doesn't have to. You believe what he says. You believe what he does. And that to me is like, that's someone where I'm like, I want to challenge myself. Like that's that, like, okay, let's see if I can hang with someone like that and go with that physical style. Cause he's very physical and it's very intriguing to me. But then, there's other people that I find it like, like Danny is always on that list. Off the top of my head, like Trevor's really the big one. I mean, there are guys. Bill Collier is another phenomenal talent.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying to think of aces. The kid that worked, the Clancy kid, I would like to get in with him. That'd be fun.
I can see that. I think that's the right mix, if that makes sense.
Yeah, he's got something. There's a couple kids from Creator Pro. Bobby Orlando, I've never gotten to work, but I think he's super talented. This kid named Bryce Donovan is very talented.
Oh, I know Bryce Donovan. He's very good.
Yes, there's a bunch of new kids that are out there that are really talented. But it's like I said, man, it's becoming more. It's harder and harder to really get like. I've been lucky to wrestle a lot of guys where I'm like, wow, like, dude, I've wrestled Tommy Dreamer a dozen times. Like, it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would love to work John Moxley just to say that I did it, because I never got to work with John when he was on the Indies.
Well, you guys must have like just missed each other, right? Well,
when
not
when
just,
I was,
but you know what I mean, by about maybe 4 years.
No, so he was still around, but he was doing Dragon Gate and that in the vault. He lived as I was in. He was already like on the way out. Like we did like one or two. Yeah, we did like one or two shows together, but he was already like he was doing what he's doing. I'm trying to think anyway. I mean, there's guys in WWE that, of course, always would be like, oh, that'd be a cool match, but no one really that I could really think of. Because I've got, like I said, I've been fortunate enough to wrestle a lot of guys. I mean, I know he's retiring, but Tony DeVito would have been a blast. I have a lot of respect.
Oh yeah, that his retirement's coming up too.
Yeah. And then, like I said, I've gotten to wrestle guys that I'm like, holy shit, like I'm wrestling, the Warlord or this guy, that guy. Like,
yeah. You and Warlord, sign me up, brother. Sign me up. So it's funny you bring that up about all the different people you've wrestled, because you've wrestled them during different incarnations of your in-ring style or your career. So what I want to touch on is, when I met you, you weren't quite a deathmatch guy yet.
Mm-hmm.
And at certain places, like say Ace, when Fibro was running, you wouldn't do that there. I'm sure that if you wanted to, you could have under the right circumstances, but you were kind of like, all right, when I do deathmatch, I do deathmatch. When I don't have to, I could show the other side. What made you decide, like, oh, deathmatch, why not? Why'd you stay in it as long as you did? Why did you say enough is enough? Was it purely the body and the torment on it? Because I also think there was a time, not before the pandemic, but close to it, where the deathmatch wrestling in the tri-state was kind of plateauing. It wasn't becoming oversaturated, but it was kind of like the next thing is fatality. So why did you go that route, and why did you leave it?
So I'll give you a scoop at because I've never really publicly talked about why I left, and I'll give it to you because you're my friend. And
thank you.
So it started. So I started working for Beyond Wrestling. I never had any desires to do deathmatch wrestling. I never got it. I had respect for it. I thought it was fucking crazy. I was fans of guys like Masada and Danny Havoc, and like the guys that did it. Terry Funk did it. Foley, obviously. Started working for Beyond Wrestling, and Beyond. This was when Beyond was like becoming the hotbed of the East Coast.
This is like 14, 15,
2014. I would say 2013, 14, 15, and 16 was like the hot years, or even 17. Were like the hot years for Beyond. Maybe even right up to the pandemic. Anyway, so I started working for Drew Cordero, and he was adamant about getting me into CZW. Like, right, you would fit right in there. This is your style. This is where you need to be. And I was like, oh yeah, cool, man. And I've always been, I don't kiss ass. I don't suck up. You're not gonna dangle a carrot in front of me and make me jump as high as you need me to. It's just not who I am. So I'm working for Beyond, and the fans, they're digging it. Here I am, this 370-pound guy, and I get it. It was different. And the fans started randomly chanting Tremont after my match. And I was like, that's kind of weird. Mm-hmm. And they started chanting Stockade during his match. And then all during intermission. And me and Matt, like, we were friendly, but we weren't like friends. Like, we knew, like, we was, hey man. And all during intermission for the next couple shows, they're like, when are we going to see you and Tremont? When are you and Tremont going to go at it? But like, they wanted this, like, they were salivating over this, like, thought of us. Drew Cordero put us together and was like, hey, let's do a best of 3, and it'll blah, 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 and it'll end with this crazy whatever. And we did a no holds barred. We did a false count anywhere. We did a no DQ. We did a bull rope, and it culminated in a casket match. But it was never meant to go the lengths that it did, but because Matt is Matt and that's his style, I was like, well, if I'm going to do this, I got to go full in.
Right.
And That's literally how it started. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting messages about doing death matches in Kentucky and Virginia and all these places that I'm like, I should capitalize on this because this is getting me attention. And that was my selfish reason was I'm not going to get over on the indies with my wrestling. I'm a 360, 70-pound fucking fat mess. I'm not a flippy. I don't look like $1,000,000. I don't have an over-the-top gimmick. This could be my path.
Okay.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to be
And
there.
then keep in mind, this is also pre-AEW. So you're also, that audience nationally is very limited.
AEW audience. So I dove into it head first. And it was, you know, I made, I would say, a good 5 years of doing it. And it took a toll and it was rough. And I don't regret it. And I fell in love with the genre. And then towards the beginning of the pandemic and then even into the pandemic, it became deathmatch wrestling got really hot where like everybody was doing it.
Yeah.
And I started getting disenfranchised with it because everyone started doing it. And to me, the cool thing about the deathmatch wrestling was that it was like the last outlaw stuff. You know, it was like the baddest of the bad. The real ones did this stuff. You know, everything else was fake, but this was real. And then you got 120-pound girls. Not that I care, but they're wrestling 300-pound men and they're beating them in death matches. It's like, man, I think we lost our way here. And again, to each their own. That's my opinion. I could care less what anyone thinks. But then the pandemic happened, and everything changed for everybody. And I took the time during the pandemic to get myself in gear and worry about my, you know, I always tell people like, yeah, the pandemic sucked, but for me, it was actually a blessing in disguise because, you know, I did that huge transformation during then. But right as we were opening back everything up, so I was kind of in and out of H2O, and this is where I kind of was put my like I'm done with this nonsense. So I was supposed to, so that there was my old tag partner G Raver. He had a huge falling out with Matt Tremont, and this was before all the things came out with him. And
is this before or the Cornette stuff, or
this is right after that? This is after he like, you know, his hand was all messed up. So basically, he was doing these promos with this girl, and you know they were risque. I don't know the exact details, but long story short, him and Matt got into it. You know, I've heard it was over money. I've heard it was over drugs. I'm not going to say what because I don't know. No, at this point, I don't care. What pissed me off was I was supposed to team with Raver in Atlantic City, and I didn't hear anything. Our match was nothing was announced. So the day of the show, I find out that the match isn't happening. But no one, Matt, who's my, you know, was supposed to be my friend and my boy and all this, never called me. Never called me, never told me, hey man, we're canceling it, you know, blah blah, you know, just very disrespected. And that was where I was like, you know what? I'm not going to kill myself for anyone anymore. Because I was one of the originals in H2O. I bought the tag belts for him. Like I went out of my way to help because that was like our company, you know, like that this was us building our brand. And so it was there. And then I saw all the drama and the toxicity and this cancel culture and deathmatch wrestling and just this nonsense. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to be a part of this. I don't want to be somewhere where I have to walk on eggshells because somebody's feelings hurt because it's a Monday and they want to, you know, get upset because today they feel like they're not a girl, they're a boy, and I call them, hey, what's up, dude? Or they're offended. Like I just didn't like it. I feel like we're getting away from that, which is great. So I just was like, you know what? For my own self and my own self-preserve, you know what? I'm like, and I made this transformation. I'm like, no, now I'm going to show everyone that I am twice the wrestler they think I am. Like, it was my way of going, no, I'm not just a deathmatch wrestler. And honestly, that's when, you know, I got a phone call from Dreamer about, hey, we're working on something for, you know, Impact. And then, of course, Tommy has to go and defend Ric Flair on the plane ride and get canceled. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. You know, I did
that's the first time I actually found that out that you had an Impact thing.
Yeah, dude, he calls me. He's like, hey, It's actually me and these two kids named the Dawson. He was like, we have an idea about, kind of doing like our version of the Wyatts with you guys. And then like 2 months later, he gets canceled. I'm like, you got it. I'm like, that's my luck.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, so that's really why I stopped it. It wasn't what it just wasn't. It didn't feel right. I didn't like how things went down. I didn't like the way people were. I didn't like how a lot of the boys were being taken advantage of. So I was just like, you know what? This isn't for me, because I know me. I know
where are you at with Tremont and Raver now interpersonally, and have you seen Tommy to be like, so?
I haven't spoken to Tremont since that Atlantic City show. That's on him. That's not. I'm the type of person like man, you burn me, I'm done. You want to, if you want to reach out and try to mend that fence, that's on you. I'm still friends with Raver, and that pisses a lot of people off because he's canceled. But he's not back in wrestling. And look, I don't really give a rat's ass what anyone has to say about him. I'm not going to be the one to say, hey, you need to be back in wrestling. That's not my place. But he turned his life around. He's tattooing. He fixed all his legal troubles. And he's my friend. I'm not going to turn my back on someone because he was drugged and drunk and made a bunch of mistakes. Like, that's just not who I am. So, and then as far as Tommy, I've seen him a bunch of times, and every time he sees me, he's like, "Your TV ready?" And I go, "Thanks. Too bad I don't know anyone that works for a TV company." And he just smiles at me. So
there's that.
Yeah,
so
man.
You talk about the transformation. Obviously, I did prep up with the before and after photos. There was Austin is the one that kind of let the cat out the bag. This is many years later, about Foley and how Foley's doctors had told him that because of all of the cushion and the mass that he had it been another normal human, by the time he did the Hell in a Cell bump, he would have died on live television. So with the transformation that you're at now, can your body hold up a deathmatch style? Obviously not on a regular basis, unless I'm wrong, but how frequently could you get back into that realm if you wanted to? Is it just a blow off situation for you? Or are you like, hard pass?
To do one just to do one, no. This it is a big misconception about deathmatch. It's actually easier on the body because it's less bumping, but obviously the instruments, it's a different pain. It's a different toll on your body.
Sure,
that makes sense.
Is it more collision than actual impact?
It's more about being hit with the weapons, and like, the risk factor is getting a bad cut, a bad laceration, bruising. Whereas, and you're maybe taking a few bumps rather than a regular match where you're bumping a bunch.
You bump it about a dozen times in a regular match.
I mean, of course I could do one, but I'm at the point now where no, I'm not going to do one just for the sake of doing it, unless it was something or someone that was like, oh, okay, yeah. But I think I have one left in me. And if everything works the way that I would like it to, that last one will be at Ace. Just so I can be like, that's it. I'm and if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go all in. And, but yeah, that'd be it. I don't really have that desire to do it. It's not something that I mean, don't get me wrong. Every now and then I get the itch, but it's not something I worked hard. And that was a big part in changing my name. I worked hard in changing that stigma about me of like, oh, because a lot of promoters wouldn't book me, but he's a deathmatch guy. It's like, no, he's not. And I've had I've had guys like Sean Carr have to go to promoters like, bro, no, he's so much more than that. So, again, if it made sense and it was to benefit a company and it was something like, okay, this could be good, of course.
Yeah.
But if somebody called me and said, hey, we want to book you in Toledo, Ohio against Jimmy Jack, I'm okay. Those days of driving the car to wrestle the local deathmatch, just not a bad app. Sorry.
So you've always, in the 10 years that I've known you, you've always evolved your look. You've never, rested on yesterday's wardrobe, if you will. Then pandemic hits. Me and you literally do our last wrestling shows together for 2020, and we don't even know it. And then when you come back into action, you were working before me, I think. You're like, new thing, new deal, new look. new
Mhm.
gear, because the old Stockade rocking the stuff you rock now, not happening.
No.
But you come out and like, I'm changing my name, I'm changing my look, I am doing new moves, not the moves I wish I could have done, just new shit. That's a roll of the dice, man, because Stockade, say what you will, negative, positive, was established. And yeah,
Yeah.
sure, the idea is, oh, well, he just changed. No, it was more than that. You didn't have to do that. So walk me through the ethos of.
Well, I dropped 160 pounds, and I was looking at my old Stockade stuff, and I was like, well, this ain't gonna fit anymore. So I had to find new stuff, and
like you discovered the headlock.
yeah, no, it all, like I said, it was a chance for me to reinvent myself. Stockade was a name that was given to me at NYWC, and I had a tumultuous falling out with them. And I was like, no, you know what? If I'm gonna do this, this is gonna be me. This is gonna be 100% me. What I want to do, the way I want to do it, what I want to wear, how I want to be. And I actually had a conversation with Danny Moff, and I talked to Moff about it. I was like, dude, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And he's like, absolutely. And look, I'm a fan of The Undertaker, and he always changed and evolved. And I just felt like, man, I need to show people that I'm not what they perceive me to be. And that was it, man. It was like, okay, let's come back with a whole new appearance, a whole new thing. I mean, there's still elements of the older personalities,
Sure.
but now it's like this is who I am. Like Kaide, Lothbrok, Stockade was me, but that was like, the Bray Wyatt Husky Harris. Like, yeah, it was good. And yeah, I had success with it because I was so afraid to take a chance. This was like, no, I always use the quote, I rather fail being myself than succeed being someone I'm not. And that's how I felt. Like, no, I want to do this. It's going to be on my terms. If I'm going to go out swinging, then I'm going out swinging the way I want to.
Yeah.
And it was hard at first, dude. A lot of people, even with the weight loss, a lot of guys did not know who the hell I was. And then they were like, holy shit, I didn't even recognize you. And it took a little bit to rebuild that. And now here I am, man. I mean, that's God, we're going on 5 years now of the name change.
Yeah.
So
One of the things you never get credit for is your promos. You're an excellent talker. You go for the slow burn. How did that affect you? Because now on top of that, it's like, well, I kind of can't do the same promos either. Did you feel as if you were stifled? Did you get the rhythm of that quicker than changing the move set? Because you're a great promo. You never get credit for being such a good promo. And how important is the promo? Because I feel like more and more people of the new generation, go back to what we started talking about, they're dodging it. And I'm the one doing them at backstage interviews, and you can tell, man, they're like, after my match, do you have to do it right now? And you just know who wants to do it, doesn't want to do it, even if they fail. So how did the name change affect your promo style and your execution of the promos? And then how important are promos?
I mean, I don't think it really affected it at all. I mean, obviously Stockade, there was more of the, I guess, Kevin Sullivan-esque darkness, a lot of the promos, or a lot of the anger. I mean, the characters are they're similar to an extent, and they're not. I've always, I was fortunate to pick up on the way to do promos from watching. I mean, in my opinion, the best promo guy ever, Jake Roberts, and that's how I try to bring my cadence. And it's a lot of reason why I don't really yell a lot unless it has a reason to.
Yeah.
But like with Stockade, it always felt like I was putting on a character, whereas Kaide, it's just, this is me. Like, I'm just gonna talk, and I'm gonna talk the way I would, if I would talk. Like, there's no, like I said, Stockade always felt like a character, whereas Kaide just feels like there's that switch. Like I felt like I had to put Stockade on. Whereas Kaide, it's just like, no, this is Joe with the volume turned up to 10,
I agree with that.
But as far as promo is important, I mean, look, I don't understand whether you're good or bad at a promo. The only way you get good at something is doing it. The promos, you're selling yourself. It goes back to why I don't understand why guys don't promote the shows they're on. You're the way I look at it is the wrestler is a product. The wrestling company is the store. You want your product on the shelf. Yep. So, and you listen, man. Me and you work together selling shit in that horrible company that we worked for a time being. You know, you got to get the product in the store. So you got to sell promos, selling where you're going to be. Like, they're important. And no one, listen, I appreciate you saying that my promos are good and I'm underrated with it. And you don't need to be a Ric Flair or Jake Roberts or Dusty Rhodes. Like, you don't need to have these 30 seconds. Hey, this is so-and-so, and I'm going to be in Teaneck, New Jersey, May 25th, blah, blah, blah. That's it. Like, and guys, I think guys have this issue where they watch good people do promos and they don't realize, like, look, you don't need to cut a Dusty Rhodes promo. It doesn't need to have all these. And a lot of guys now have, like, dude, they'll cut a promo and they'll put these graphic effects. And it's like, it's cool.
It's lazy.
It's just like your mask. It's it's not needed. Like, like, it's a cool, like, you want to put a cool grainy filter. That's fine. Like the promo that Bo did, I thought was phenomenal.
It was like cinematic. It was great.
That it works for, but there are some guys that just look. I mean, I'm sure he's listening. He's probably gonna get pissed about it. But our friend TJ Marconi, he cuts a hell of a promo. But sometimes, man, I don't want to sit there and watch a 2.5 minute promo when it's a goddamn fucking mini movie. Like, it's just,
he's not gonna get mad. He's just gonna blame me for it. Keep going.
But you know what I'm saying? But as promos, everyone should do them. And I got good by, I did a clinic with James Mitchell, the Devil, and I got his number and I would text him and send him promos and he would critique them. And just, if you're not good at them, work at them. And if you really just aren't good at them, keep it simple, 30 seconds.
The other thing too is, like, a lot of these young kids, this is what I try to instill on them when I do the promo classes as one-offs, or when I talk to anybody at, like, ECPW. People want to be Ric Flair on their first day.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, or Jake, or whoever, like that. If you watch their promos at the beginning, they're struggling, they're not good, there's potential, but they want to do that Flair 87, that Jake 92 right off the gate, and that's mastery. That takes a long ass time to get to that.
Another big issue a lot of guys have is, whereas, like, where I said, like, I watched and I took from guys like Jake or Foley or Funk, and I their cadences. Guys will go out and almost emulate someone's, not the exact verbiage, but their cadence exactly. Instead of making it their own, instead of like me going out there and doing a Cade promo, would be like Cade doing a Jake Roberts style promo. That's not what you want. And a lot of guys have that thing of, like, they'll watch someone, they'll try to repeat that process.
Yeah, when I was managing you, I had to reprogram myself too, because I felt like I was doing, like, the JJ Dillon. I was even going as far as, like, holding up here. Like, I had to, like, watch my stuff back, and I'm like, oh no, this is a ripoff. And somewhere along the line, you got to hit the drawing board, but that's very, very true. I want to go to questions real quick before I get into current events. This is from Jim Dandy. What hardcore deathmatch stunt did you turn down?
I don't think I ever turned any. Let's see.
Did you ever hear something so preposterous that you were like, fuck that?
Yes, actually. It was during the G Raver benefit show when he got hurt. We were raising money for him.
Okay.
It was myself and his old tag partner, Rory, against Jeff Cannonball and this nice kid named Raven Havoc, who's a very nice kid, but was one of those guys that was, like, so eager to prove himself he was willing to do anything. He came with a door covered in Christmas ornaments. Myself, and Jeff were like, dude, no, like, this is not, and this wasn't, I wasn't going through it. He wanted me to put him through it, and I refused. Like, dude, this is a benefit show. We're not killing ourselves. It's not worth it. Like, so that was one where I was like, no, it's not happening. So yeah, I guess. But me personally, the only thing I've ever said no to was pigeon spikes, which are these, like, those spikes you see on, like, Bill. I don't know. Well, you're in the city, but if you ever go to, like,
one on roofing to make sure birds.
Yes, those like weird, like, they look like those tire spikes when they've.
Yes.
Guys were using those for a minute, and Marcus Crane, who unfortunately passed away, he actually took a bump on it, and I guess somehow it punctured him, but air got caught in the wound, and it caused some type of like issue. So that was one where I was like, nah, man, I didn't mind the hard, blunt stuff. It was the sharp stuff, besides like light tubes and tacks and barbed wire. I was like, I
Even
don't
the
know.
gusset plates, I didn't get you because you were humming on that shit for a while.
No, so dude, they're little, and they just, it hurts, but it doesn't. It's it's weird. I know it sounds, when I talk to people that don't get it doesn't make sense. But if you did it, you would understand. Like,
well, I guess that's also like the illusion of wrestling, right? It's the same as going through a table. In terms of like, oh, it looks the aesthetic of it is this car crash, whereas you do it and you're like, yeah, fine.
You know, like the gusset plate just had this illusion of like, oh my god, because it had all these little tiny teeth, but they didn't go in deep. You know, maybe like
sure
the first layer, like they didn't, to really, if you really wanted to get it in someone, you could, but nobody. It was literally one smack and then blood.
Yeah. Sinbad House Guest wants to know, while the business is as exposed as ever, what is and isn't in the deathmatch world? I guess meaning like what's kayfabe and what's not.
I mean, everything now is exposed. I think everyone knows the deal. And that was, like I said, this is not a shot at anyone, just my cup of tea. I think when it lost its way, so like deathmatch wrestling, like I said, it was a select group of guys that did it. All of a sudden, everyone, guys that never did it, were doing it. Girls, all this, it became this like, oh, well, if he could do it, I can do it. And then
I also think that when it was hot, it became a thing of, oh, if I want to get spotted, I got to do a few.
That also happened. And then you had guys that were doing it, that created it, that built it. And I'm not even putting myself in there, but the Masadas, the Drake Youngers, the Tremont. And it just became like all these guys. And it's a good thing, but then it became exposed.
Sure.
I don't think anything's, nothing's kayfabe. I'm like, everything you see, 90% of the gimmicks are real. The cinder blocks, the syringes, the gusset plates, the light tubes. I mean, the only thing I would say, like, if you see somebody get, like, I mean, even some of the knives, they're real or they're dull. Like, I mean, I'm sure everyone knows Man Pondo comes out with a baseball bat with a saw blade on it. It's a real saw blade, but it's in reverse. So when he does it, the blades go backwards rather than forward, so it doesn't get.
Well, here's the other thing too. Like, even one time, I think I saw you do something similar. It wasn't at Ace. It was some footage you showed me where, like, even when you do, this was big for a while, the broomstick with the water jug, that motherfucker hurts when you get hit with it in the head.
Yes, it does.
I'm sure it hits the same in the back, but I'd rather take that shot, the brace, than just get whopped with it.
The biggest problem with deathmatch wrestling is when you're wrestling guys that are either super new to it or just, there are good, like anything, there's good and bad deathmatch wrestlers, and the bad ones are the ones that just swing for the fences. I call them smash and crash, and they just want to go in there and belt each other over the head, and they think that's it. It's, people forget there is the word wrestling in it.
Yeah.
And that sometimes gets pushed to the wayside for the carnage.
Coffee shop lawn chairs. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
70.
Sure. One guy you could have wrestled, but then they got signed.
The current or ever or
the one that's like, oh, son of a bitch, I could have worked him and then he got signed, or you were gonna work him.
Oh man, I don't know.
Because I talked about the fact that you worked Brian a few times when he came back. Like, there were a few guys you must have missed.
I mean, guys that I definitely missed that got signed, but nobody that was on the cusp of working. But like Brody Lee is definitely on that list. Would love to have worked Brody.
The fact that you never touched him once, that's why.
Dude, I never even got to meet him, unfortunately. I would have loved to. Moxley is another one. I mean, a lot of the guys, in AEW, I've been fortunate to work. I mean, obviously never like Bryan Danielson, guys like that. But like, your John Silver's, your Alex Reynolds, the Max Caster kid,
your friend Eddie, who you worked.
Eddie numerous times. Honestly, I mean, a big one, Jay Briscoe and Mark would have been phenomenal. I mean, obviously Mark is still with us, but I would have loved to work Jay. I mean, there's a few, but
of your tag partners, who do you think would have been the best fit to work the Briscoes?
Raver.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Me and Raver
Okay.
had an uncanny, like, we just gelled. There was just something about me and him that just, it was just one of those things that it just worked, you know?
Company you'd be the best fit for if offered a contract.
I would say TNA now, either TNA or NWA. I don't think I would last in AEW. I think I would be fired faster than CM Punk. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I look, man, you know me. I don't put up with people's bullshit on the indies, and if I ain't gonna put up with people's bullshit for money, and the few times I was there, it's very clicky. I have friends there, and I'm happy for everybody, but I just don't know how. I don't know how I would operate in a place like that. Um, and WWE, I would love to say WWE, but I get such a corporate structured type place, and having things like, hey, blah blah blah, blah. I don't know if that would be good for me. I think a place like TNA or whatever it's called now, Impact or whatever, or even NWA, having the freedom to be like, hey, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? Because like obviously WWE, you could get that, but that's that long road,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Would you ever? Here's an interesting question. Would you ever do a dark or an elevation at USBC or whatever it's called, just for like your wife and your stepson, or for yourself? Like, would you do that? Is that, it's not a goal, but is it something that if it's offered to you?
Oh, of course. No, look, I'd be lying if I said look, if AEW came to me and said, hey, we're going to give you a contract, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't sign it. I'd be
No, but in
lying.
the sense of like you're pretty transparent about how you think you would do there as an individual.
Would I?
But
Yeah, no,
if
I would
Eddie's like, hey man, I can get you on Dark when we do the Long Island tape is next month, guarantee.
Oh
Would
yeah,
you do it?
of course,
Okay.
absolutely. You know what it is, man? Like I wouldn't say. Look, I don't know how I would fare. I just know from what I've seen and what I've heard and talking to
Yeah.
other people that are there that I'm friends with. I don't know how. I'm very outspoken, and I don't know how I would handle certain things where, like there are guys I'm friends with that are like, haven't been on TV for months and they're still getting paid.
Sure.
I'd be losing my mind. Like, yo, I want to work. If you're not
Yeah.
going to pay me, if you're not going to put me on TV, then let me go work the indies. Like, let me do something. So like,
Yeah.
that's the things, the backstage politics. You don't mess with me. I don't care. I don't choose sides. I make my own decisions. I'm not gonna go be rah rah for this because this is how it now. So yeah, but of
Okay.
course I would do a dark. Of course.
So now we're at a point where you are at this stage of your career, another evolution, the look, transformation, all of which we've discussed. Where are you at goal wise, whether it be Ace, Excite, any of the other places you work? What are you looking to accomplish? What stories do you want to tell?
I mean, this is a straight up shoot for the foreseeable future. Honestly, I don't see myself doing much more than Ace or Excite. I don't really have a desire to work
And
for.
that's a choice.
That's my choice. That's not because I can't get booked. That's not because I don't, whatever. I just, again, like I
No,
was
no,
saying.
but look, I have to ask, not like I know what's up,
No, no,
but
no.
let's,
I know you. I know.
we know what it is. We know how shit gets around.
Of
Again, going
course.
back to stigma, that's why I want to express this, because here's the other thing too. I whether it was an individual choice or not, I took the chance to get to know you. So I know that if you wanted to work a little bit more on the weekends, you could, if you want to have a full month or
I mean, look,
whatever.
man, March, I worked 6 shows. That was by choice.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I work for a company called Kaiju Pro Wrestling, run by a girl named Ashley. She's a friend of mine. She asked me to come in and work, and I did. No, and I had a great time. If she asks me to do it again, absolutely. But it's not something where I'd be like, hey, you're gonna book me? Hey, I'm not.
Right.
Like, hey, like if you need me to come in and help you, sure. May 18th, I'm debuting for a company called Atlantic All Star Wrestling in South Jersey. The guy hit me up. I found out he's a good guy, and sure. Will it lead to more? Maybe. Will it be one? That's where I'm at. Like I'm not. It's not one of those things where I'm like I have to wrestle every weekend. But like my main priorities is Ace and Excite, and it goes that order. Ace is priority. Mike, this has always been my philosophy. If Mike calls, I don't care who I'm working for. Mike takes priority. Even if he already had a show booked, Mike, without Mike Morgan, I would not be in the position. I would not be the person I am. I would not be the man that I am. I would not be the wrestler. Mike has done so much for me inside and outside of wrestling. I can never repay him. So there's that aspect of it. Excite literally has become my second home. Moose has become a great friend. Sean Carr, HC Loke, and there's a lot of good talent up there, and we're telling great stories. My plan for the foreseeable future is I just want to. My goal is to have the best possible matches I can with the best possible talent. And if I'm not having the best possible matches with the best possible talent and stealing the show, then I want to be able to help grow the next guys and give them matches where they can learn from. That's my goal. I know, like I said, I know my time is almost up, and that's cool. Now let me give back, because at least let me do what others did for me when I was coming up, you know?
Yeah, and I think it's evident if it's on the Ace Pro Wrestling YouTube, youtube.com/Ace Wrestling. If your Diamond Division title run, what made that so unique for your career and for the company, was because when the new guys were coming into Ace in that phase at the beginning of the era we're in now, they had to go through you, and you were giving them these showcase matches. You were giving them at least 15 minutes, sometimes more. Like, all right, kid, what do you do? What do you got?
Dude, I absolutely love, like, I don't really care about belts, you know, whatever, but I'm sad that that's kind of over, because I was having so much fun. I mean, I had good matches with, Pittman, De Niro,
Pittman,
Mistretta, Reyes,
when De Niro came in, I mean,
Vegas, Azrael. Like, I was
Donovan.
having some really good matches, and again, you know, that was my job. And you know, now I'm on to this story with Bo, which I think could be really cool and tell a different story. And that's the cool thing, man. Like, it's nice to not need to be, man, you know the business. Some guys feel like if they're not in the title picture or they're not the champion, then nothing else matters.
Sure.
I don't need it, because I'm having a banger telling stories without it. And if Mike goes, hey, we need to do this. All right, cool. Let's do it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that statement alone should be evident for what people should know about you. You know what I mean?
I mean, let's be honest, dude. Besides Mike, I think if you look at the history of Ace, I don't think there's been someone, maybe Will, that has gone to bat or have put over more guys. And I'm not talking about like win or losses. I'm talking about like, Alvin, Astro, Mistretta. I mean, a litany of guys that I have like gone to, put over and been like, hey, like, let's give them the ball. Let's see what they can do. And, but that's always been my thing. Like, I've always been the guy to be like, even with you, bringing you to Excite. It wasn't, I wanted to obviously work with you because you're amazing, but it was also like, yo, let's showcase what you can do. And
Yeah, that, I tell you, it was quick. The pandemic killed it for me, but that was a lot of fun. That brief time during the Dying Breed. That, I mean, it was brief. I loved it. I loved Uncle Rob Cook.
I mean, dude, think about it. You got to be in the ring with Tremont, Joe Gacy, Mikey Whipwreck, Sean Carr.
Dude, Tremont, Joe
Barry,
Gacy,
Bill Carr,
Sean Carr, Dan Barry, Bill Carr, cage matches, hardcore matches.
Yeah.
I got to shout out Demolition in the middle of your match because I'm a fucking goofball. LSG. I mean, it was brief, but it was quite the run. Yeah, I mean, it was a great time to experiment and finally get that done. It was a goal of mine. It was nice to see HC Loke at your wedding because I was convinced that he hated me. Bill Carr's always been great with me. Dan, and I love Dan Barry. I think he was mad he didn't get to hit me with his finish that day, but I've always loved Team Tremendous. Team Tremendous. If the AEW era started sooner, Team Tremendous would have been signed.
Absolutely.
Team Tremendous would have been signed.
And you got to take a stunner from Mikey. So I mean,
took a stunner for Whipwreck. I got my shit rocked by LSG. I got a wedgie, which led to Ron Simmons hitting me with a dam on my first day. It was a fart in the wind, but it smelled real good. It was a hell of a run.
One time, man.
But ladies and gentlemen, this specifically goes to my small but loyal audience. If nothing else, I hope we got to peel the onion and you got to get the layers of the ogre, if you will. I'm telling you, if you haven't seen him, go see him. Follow him on his social media handles. Go see him at a local independent show because it always gets a reaction from the locker room to the curtain, from bell to bell. It always gets a reaction when Kane Lothbrok is in. I hope you had a great time on the program.
Of course, bud.
I hope this was able to shed some light and really share who you really are as a man and as a performer and where you're at mentally. And the following conversation was scheduled for one fall. We'll see you next time, fans.